Today I'm going to be painting this winter watercolour pine cone in my sketchbook, and I hope I've made it easy to follow along. Hello everyone! Just sitting down at my desk. Hello everyone, so today I'm going to be painting a winter watercolour Christmassy card themed painting. So I'm going to be doing a pine cone, as you can see. So I'm using my current sketchbook. The other book I've been painting my other paintings in is a painting book. And I realised that I haven't actually used my current sketchbook in ages because I've been focused on the other book. Yeah, so today I'm going to give some attention to my actual current sketchbook. So, pine cone. Okay. So, I am going to start by wetting the background. So obviously the first thing you're probably noticing is the pine cone doesn't have pine cone details, and I'm going to, when I paint the pine cone part, you're going to see why. And it's one of my favourite ways to paint a pine cone, because if you're someone like me, sometimes I can't speak again. I can't speak today. When I get overwhelmed by details, and sometimes it just doesn't look good. Sometimes I like less is more in my style, I guess. Right, so I'm using my Winsor & Newton watercolours, which are my go-to watercolours. I do have my Phoenix watercolours to the left of me in case I need a colour from them, but I don't think I will. Although I do like the Hooker's Green Dark in the Phoenix set. So, okay, so I'm going to just basically mix sap green and a bit of indigo, but a lot more green because I don't want it too dark. And we're going to just loosely paint around the pine cone as best as that I can. Oops. Just around the edges. I'm going to try my best not to get any on the branch, but because the brown should be darker than the green, I should be okay, but I am going to avoid it if I can. Just like that, and then a little bit more in this corner. Nice. So I'm going to add a bit of indigo, just a little bit to this, add a bit more green, a bit more indigo, a bit more sap green. I'm just going to basically just add a little bit to the corners and just let it do what it likes. Right, so we're going to let that dry because there's not much we can do until the background is dry. Okay, so I think that is now dry. So I'm going to go ahead and get burnt umber. Into my palette, but I'm going to add quite a lot of water. I'm going to water it down quite a bit. That should do it. I'm just going to paint the entire pine cone. Okay, so obviously if you can see, because this bit's dry, you can see a little white line where I haven't quite coloured in the lines. So don't get me a colouring book, but where I haven't coloured in the lines, but that doesn't matter, because when I add the second layer of watercolour, it will be darker, so it will go over those spaces, and you'll see what I mean when I go ahead and do it. So there we go. Now I am just going to also just do this bit as well. I suppose while I'm here, just get a lot more burnt umber. Ooh, a bit more water on my brush, get a lot more burnt umber. I might make the dark colour while I'm here. So if I get Van Dyke Brown, that's what I do. I get Van Dyke Brown. I'm not going to do the pine cone yet, obviously, because it's not dry, but I am going to start on the tree trunk, on the branch. Because I may as well, because it won't affect any other part of the painting. I'll add a little bit to there. That bit's okay, that's nothing to worry about. Same up there. I'm just going to grab a smaller brush. So later on, at the very end, I'll be adding the pine leaves, plural, pine leaves, to the painting as well. So that's that. So I'm going to get my thin brush. This isn't even the smallest one from this set, but I don't think I need it any bigger. I'm just going to start doing some thinner branches. Because like I said, this part won't be in the way of me working on the pine cone, so I may as well do it now. And instead of using the hairdryer, it might also be dry by the time I've done this bit. So I'm not going to do any branches over the pine cone itself. I might do later. Although right now they look like they look like little bits, little brown strikes of lightning. And then I will use an acrylic marker at the end once I do the snow splatter to add snow to the actual tree, the branch. Should I add a couple up here? Maybe just a couple, not too many. Let me see if I can do some thicker ones to look a little bit less like lightning. Let's see if I can. Oops, maybe not. It's alright though if I had, I'm just going to get my darker colour because it's there we go. That's a little bit more size variation. Okay. Oops, sorry. Okay, so that looks, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the Van Dyke brown, mix it into this. We'll push a bit more Van Dyke brown. And then what I'm going to do is in this corner, I'm going to grab some of this Van Dyke brown just by itself and a bit of indigo. But that's for later. I don't need that yet. So this one, grab, yeah, this one will do. It's a size down from the main red one and a size up from my green and the orange paintbrush, which I can't see. Otherwise I would show you, but I can't see where it is. So Van Dyke brown. Then this is what I do. I literally just do horizontal, I almost said diagonal, horizontal lines. Yeah, right, horizontal width. Yeah. If I'm wrong, I'll write it. If I'm wrong. And then I just wait for that plane to quiet down. So I'm not doing them too close together because I still got another dark colour to add. And I still want some of the base colour that I used first to still shine through in some places. And then I just fill up the bottom bit a little bit, give it a bit more shape. And there we go. So I'm going to then rub off, wash off that paintbrush. Grab my dark indigo and Van Dyke brown mix that I made. And while the other ones are still wet, I'm just going to drop it in, not on all of them, but just some of them. Basically do the same thing and fill in the gaps, but like I said, not all of them. Still leaving the original lighter brown still visible. That's one of my favourite ways to do this because it's simple in 3 steps. Base colour, darker brown, even darker brown, and you still get a pine cone without having to draw all of the details. I mean, obviously if you want to draw the details, you know, you can do. It's not a problem. It's just sometimes I don't know, 2 reasons. First, honesty, which is can't always be bothered to draw every last little bit of detail. I'm just going around and adding that same colour to the bottom of the tree branch. And the other reason is, like I said, sometimes I'm just not too good at drawing every little detail without making it look overwhelming to look at. There we go. So that's that bit. Okay, so some sap green. I'm just going to use the same colour I used earlier for the background, and I'm just going to change it a bit. So I'm going to get a lot of sap green, a lot of sap green, indigo, a bit more indigo, ooh, a bit more sap green, that might be too much indigo. Alright, that should do it. Right, now I might use the paintbrush, my smaller paintbrush for this. Try and find a place where it's dry enough. And I'm going to start doing my pine leaves. And try my best to do it the right way, because I can't remember, I think another painting maybe a couple of weeks ago where I also did this, and I mentioned that sometimes I have to be careful remembering which way the leaves should be facing. And you can do as many or as little as you like, just keep adding them until you're happy. So you don't have to do this, but I also like a colour variation, so I add some indigo back to that sap green, just to see if I can make a bit of a darker green, just so I can have different pine tree leaf variation in colour. That's what I was trying to say. I almost started painting that the wrong way round. Shall we add some going that way as well? I've done a painting similar to this a couple of years ago, because I mean I did a painting of a robin last year, but I've done another sketch again for this year, but it's a different pose. So it's just, there are just some paintings that you kind of have to do every winter, but I didn't get a lot of paintings done last year. Right, so now I'm just going to add little flicks just wherever I feel like, just like that. Okay, so I don't think it needs any more. Again, obviously if you're following along, you might have already stopped adding yours, you might still be going. It doesn't matter, it's up to you. So I'm going to wait for that to dry, and then we'll be on to the next couple of bits. Okay, now we're on to the next bit. Okay, now we're on to the next bit, and I no longer need my watercolours. I just need, for this bit, I need my acrylic paint marker, and this is from Deco Time. I have a lot of different white markers from different, I've got a permanent white marker, yeah, so any acrylic white marker, doesn't even have to be marker. If you have ink, that will work too, or acrylic paint, that will work as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add it to bits of pinecone. Now I will say, as you can see, the nib is going a little bit brown, and although I used a hairdryer, I have a slight suspicion that this isn't perfectly dry. I'm just going around, adding it here and there until I am happy. Okay. Once this is dry, also the ones that were a bit brown, I can just draw over to get them to be a bit more white. So now also I'm just going to do on the branch. So what I do is I tend to follow the branch line, and sometimes I'll just do some circular motions to try and indicate a snow pile up on top. Just like that. Maybe some here, some on these branches as well. And then I'm going to gently add a little bit to the pine leaves. Like that. Okay, so now it's on to the splattering ink part, one of my favourites. Okay, I'm going to cover this side of my sketchbook with this dirty paper towel. I'm going to grab my ink, and it is from Art Studio, the one that I've been using the whole time. Now where is my... Oh, I see it, it's right at the bottom. There we go. Obviously, I think I've mentioned about 1 billion times, and now it's 1,000,000,001. I like to use this as my ink brush. It's just one of the cheap plastic ones you get from cheap sets. The last couple of paintings, I think I've just been using regular paintbrushes because I couldn't remember where I put this brush. Okay, and this poor pencil. So this brush, because it's a lot smaller than the other brushes that I use, the snowfall is a lot more subtle. Obviously you can use a bigger brush, which I might do a bit later to get some bigger snowfall, but also the amount of water you add can also dilute it so it goes further as well. And also, I probably will at the end, I also tend to add snowflakes and snowfall with a pen manually in spaces where I think it needs it. Although, maybe not, I'm liking how this is turning out. Alright. So, that's looking very, very pretty. Although the snowfall on the branch is a little dull. Maybe I can just add a little bit, just to whiten it up. I don't know if you can see, but oh no, I don't think you can, but I have spilt ink on my table. That's it, just an ink blob, and I'm picking it up with the paintbrush so it doesn't go to waste. Okay, let's move on to the last couple of bits, which is adding some sparkle to it. This is optional, I just like adding glitter to things. This one should do. Ooh. Let's go for a different one. As you can see, there's a bigger dip in these two. I always go for those, so let's pick a different one. Let's pick this one. All right. I don't need tons, just a little bit to get a bit of a sparkle in there. I did get a bit of paint up here, but I might do a swatch where I do like to show you which colours I used for this illustration, so that's not too much of a problem. Put these away. Oh, I have tape stuck to my art supply caddy. Okay, there we go. Right, so it's the ink I've noticed, although I left it to dry, it isn't completely dry yet, but I am still going to take the tape off. Okay, please don't rip the paper. But because I've used a hairdryer on it a couple of times, it should be okay. But I've probably jinxed myself, and it probably won't be okay, just to prove me wrong. I can't even get the sellotape to separate. Good start. Oh no, I thought that was where it ripped. It's not, it's a bit of pencil from the sketch where I put the border, the tape on. Last hurdle, let's reposition this because it's looking good so far. Ooh. Ta-da! That came off perfectly. Okay, I'm just going to move this a little bit so you can see it. Well, I mean, you could already see it. I meant to see it better. Oh, there's ink all over my table. I will give it a good clean afterwards, so let me just give you a close-up of the painting. See if I can get the shimmer. It's very subtle, sparkly shimmer. And then I'll just give you a nice close look. There we are. Right, so thank you all so much for watching. Please feel free to leave me a comment. Let me know if you tried painting this and how it went, and if you enjoyed it, and also if it was an easy technique. So I think this way to paint pine cones is quite easy, but let me know if you think it is. Anyway, bye!